Our Mexico City Grand Prix F1 driver ratings. Right, let's get into the driver ratings and start with Logan Sargent. Okay, it's Logie Bear. Let's talk about him. Started the race in 19th because he did no laps and in the qualifying and finished 16th. Retired on the last lap. Poor Logie. He was on for a solid P12, I think it was going to be, wasn't it? And 5 out of 10 from me for Logan. It wasn't actually that bad of a race. Like Albon was obviously in the fringes of the points, but Logan wasn't exactly in last place and 4 laps behind. So I'm going to go straight down the middle with a little 5 out of 10.
I've also gone for a 5 out of 10 for Logan. His qualifying was pretty disastrous, to say the least. It's pretty embarrassing not to get a single lap in.
Don't say it. Lando Norris fans do listen to this podcast, Tommy. Just be careful, all right? Be careful.
Well, it's true, they. And then get the penalty for the yellow flag as well. Yeah, he had multiple runs, didn't make it work. So then, of course, in the race as well, fought up to 12th. But he was never really on Albon's pace.
Alex Albon now started the race in 14th and finished 9th.
Gone for an 8 out of 10 for Alex Albon, mainly because 9th place in a Williams a few years ago would have been like a 10 out of 10, but maybe it's just how good Alex Albon's driving, but it's almost kind of like normal now. Three times in a row. A good drive from Albon, as we've seen a lot this year, but probably could have qualified better, and then you never know, maybe he could have done a little bit better because did have that amazing pace in free practice and it didn't appear, and then of course some more track limit issues in quali.
I've gone for an 8 out of 10 as well. I was dilly-dallying between a 7 and an 8, which is crazy to think because he's in a Williams and he finished 9th. But it was more just the fact that I feel like there was maybe more on the table than the 9th place if he had that qualifying go a little bit better. And the pace that he was showing in practice, it was kind of sending us down the river a little bit with the hopes and dreams of what Alex could achieve at Mexico City, which is not something I don't think any of us expected to say when we went into this weekend. Now let's move on to Daniel Ricciardo. Started the race in 4th and finished 7th. It's a stone cold, straight out the fridge, cracked it open, 10 out of 10 for Daniel Ricciardo this weekend. P7, I mean, maybe we were dreaming of more. I certainly was in terms of where he could finish. But, I mean, realistically, he's in an AlphaTauri, which was, going into this weekend, the 10th fastest team in terms of constructors' points over the course of this year. An unbelievable weekend for Daniel. To drive the way he did this weekend, it was brilliant. He put up a fight when needed with Norris, but also didn't do anything silly like unlike his teammate. And has moved AlphaTauri to 8th in the standings. So there is no other grade that is deserved for Daniel than a 10.
Yeah, it's got to be a 10 out of 10. I've also gone for that because it's incredible, like what he's done. His qualifying was fantastic. It was always going to drop back a little bit in the race as the quicker cars came through the pack. Almost got Russell as well at the end, which would have been even better, but it's still a 10 out of 10 drive because I think he extracted everything and more from that AlphaTauri, and what a time to do it as well.
Let's move on to his teammate now, YUKI TSUNODA, who started the race in 18th due to his power unit being changed and finished in 12th.
Gone for a 3 out of 10 for YUKI TSUNODA. His drive was actually good. You know, he started last. You can't really judge his qualifying because essentially he played the team game, towing Daniel Ricciardo. And then his recovery was good. And then it's just classic YUKI TSUNODA where you could have settled for 8th and bagged some big old points on 9th or whatever it was. But no, had one moment with Piastri and then went, I'm going to try this again, even though it doesn't feel like it's actually on. It's still a big mistake from YUKI when points were begging, and he's not got many of them this year. So it was a good chance to shoot AlphaTauri up even more in the standings.
I've gone for a 2 out of 10 for YUKI because I'm sort of judging and categorizing my grade as if he DNF'd, because it may as well have been. He went from a point scoring opportunity to a clumsy move on Piastri. Yeah, it was just impatient. It was not thinking about the long-term consequences potentially of throwing away a P8 or a P9 or whatever it might have been in the end. But he threw it away, so no, 0 points and a 2 out of 10 from me. NICO HULKENBERG started the race in 12th, finished 13th. Now, I've actually gone for a 7 out of 10 for Nico Hulkenberg because he was driving like a lion. He was using that Haas in a way in which just keep ahead with that straight line speed in P10. He had a train behind him. He didn't care. He was doing his absolute utmost in that horrible, horrible car. And to nearly score points, I think deserves some credit.
I'm going for a 7. Yes, I am. I almost want to give him an 8 just because I feel like he got... No, I'm going to give him an 8. Why not? Because I think he got everything he could out of that car. I'm still amazed that they put him... I love the way you're like, wow, 1 grade higher than yours.
It's big.
Yeah, I know it's big, but also like the man's not going to get any better this season because their car's washed. He's had so many anonymous drives where you actually think he might have done all right. And this one, I think he was very unlucky not to hold on. And I'm very amazed, actually, that Haas put him on the mediums when their tyre wear is awful. And they wouldn't have just gone for hards. Seems odd.
They just went risky. Love it from them. They were like, screw it. If we go on a really like a softer compounder tyre, maybe the universe will do an Uno reverse card and actually be like, you're really good on them. Kevin Magnussen now started 16th and did not finish.
I have gone for a whopping 3 out of 10 for Kevin Magnussen. Qualified badly again. It's far too coincidental that he absolutely yeeted it over that curb and on the bumpy runoff and got all those marbles and then had a suspension failure. Surely that's related. You know, one lap later is a massive coincidence if it isn't. Because he really kept his foot in that and just didn't have any pace either compared to his teammate. Not good at all.
Certainly not. I've gone for a 3 out of 10 as well for K-Mag. Disappointing again. It's just literally Control-C, Control-V for K-Mag each weekend. We're hardly seeing any kind of potential from him. And I want to see Ollie Behrman in the car now.
I was going to say, the weekend where we actually saw Behrman do a very good job on his first outing. And yeah, it makes you wonder, tick off the bingo card of Kevin Magnussen signed too early in this driver ratings thing. We say it every single time.
Lance Stroll now started from the pit lane and did not finish. I've gone for a whopping 3 out of 10 for Lance Stroll as well. My goodness me, everything about Aston Martin's weekend has been terrible. Had a collision with Bottas, although obviously Bottas was the one to get the 5-second penalty for that. But yeah, it's a 3 out of 10. Very, very poor from Aston Martin as a whole. And they were just meandering at the back. So they just were like, nah, we're just gonna retire the car, mate.
I've gone for a 4 out of 10 for Lance Stroll. I guess that's a little grade, but oh my God, what is there more to say about Aston Martin? Just horrible.
Horrible indeed. Fernando Alonso now started the race in 13th and did not finish.
It's a 4 out of 10 for Fernando. Awful weekend. Obviously, the car is so bad now, but the 4 out of 10 for me is also because he couldn't get anything out of it. And you might just say that that's just what it could do, but he also had the odd spin. We saw some uncharacteristic mistakes from him in practice, in qualifying. Just not good at all for Fernando. And he is plummeting down the Drivers' Championship order. It's already started happening. He's behind Sainz now and is just going to slip further and further behind.
I have gone for a 3 out of 10 for Fernando Alonso as well. I am absolutely... I mean, I'm not even a Fernando Alonso fanboy like you are, but I'm disgusted to see them at the back. Like, it is an absolute travesty, and I feel like 4 is just giving them too much of a... No, you got away with this. No, 3. What a terrible performance from just everyone at Aston Martin at the moment. What has happened? It's the most colossal downturn of performance. We put all of our eggs in their basket at the start of the year. Oh, Aston are the only team we can rely on to take it to Red Bull. Now, Fernando Alonso is getting passed by Logan Sargeant in a race. How has this happened to the supposed, according to you, Tommy, GOAT? Valtteri Bottas started 9th, finished 15th. It's a 4 out of 10 for me from Valtteri Bottas. It should have been much better than it was. Bottas looked really quick in practice, left maybe a little bit on the table in qualifying, and then in the race, it was just horrendous. He had a bad start, got stuck behind Hulkenberg, and that just kind of ruined his race. Hulkenberg was just the train conductor and all the cars were just stuck behind him.
Yeah, not good. Not good from Alfa. I've gone for a 5 out of 10 for Bottas. Straight down the middle, the classic Alfa Romeo score. Should have done a lot better, especially when he gets stuck behind someone. We know that he's not one to make the daring lunge, although based on other drivers that maybe that was the best case anyway. But yeah, just really bad weekend for Alfa Romeo, and they should have been scoring some big points after qualifying, and instead they've dropped a position down in the championship.
Crazy. Zhou Guanyu started 10th, finished 14th.
Again, 5 out of 10. Average race, good quali, but not the greatest race. Struggled for pace in the actual race, but can't go lower than a 5 because he's not made like a catastrophic error or anything. Just didn't really have the pace.
Well, I have gone lower than a 5. I've gone 4. And this may seem harsh, but the reason I'm giving both Bottas and Zhou Guanyu a 4 is because the potential's there. You know, when we give them a 5, usually it's like, well, Alfa Romeo, you know, they did the Alfa Romeo things, you know what I mean? They're just slow. Whereas this one, you're like, well, actually, there was an opportunity on the table and they did not take it with any hands, not even one hand, and a really poor finishing position from both of them. So that's why I'm going for a 4 out of 10. Oscar Piastri started 7th, finished 8th. My grade for Oscar Piastri is a 6 out of 10. Really sure what's going on with Oscar in these last few races. I know his race pace hasn't been on the same level as Lando Norris anyway, but I feel as though it's almost tailing off even a little bit more. I mean, to be beaten by Lando, who obviously started 17th, and to be beaten by him quite comprehensively, it's not the best look for Piastri. I feel like he's maybe just gone off the boil a little bit, but still, 4 points, finished 8th. But when your teammate finishes 5th from starting at the back, not the best.
Yes, I was going to give him a 7, but you've kind of convinced me that I think it is a 6 out of 10 performance, because for him to start 7th, obviously a decent qualifying, but you wonder where Lando might have been in that position with how quick he was. And then also to start 7th and finish 8th when Perez crashed and was out, your teammates starting right at the back. You shouldn't be really losing positions.
Lando Norris now started 17th and finished 5th.
I've gone for a 9 out of 10 for Lando Norris. Despite bottling qualifying, his race was so good that he's still getting a 9, even though his qualifying was so bad, and it's just what might have been. I do think he would have obviously finished higher in the race, but it was an amazing recovery drive, had so much pace, and his moves as well on a track that's so difficult to pass. He made the moves very good as well.
I have gone for an 8 out of 10 for Lando Norris because it was self-inflicted, the qualifying. There was a mistake that Lando made and it caused him to be knocked out in Q1. Yes, he had the most unbelievable race. Overtaking, beautiful stuff. They are slower cars around him, and I'm kind of putting myself in the situation of, he's in the second fastest car. That's kind of what I would expect from Lando, is to come through the field the way he did. Obviously, it was a level in which that we can all appreciate, but I have to mark him down because of how far back he started. And then, of course, had a poor restart as well and dropped back down to 14th. Okay, Pierre Gasly now started 11th, finished 11th. I'm going to go for a 6 out of 10 for Pierre Gasly. It was an okay weekend. Alpine were pretty slow. For him to be just on the outskirts of the points, obviously not scoring in P11. It's a shame. Hulkenberg kind of ruined their race, I would say, quite dramatically with his fast Haas. Unfortunate for Pierre, and taking the YUKI TSUNODA position of P11.
Yeah, gone for a 7 out of 10 for Pierre Gasly. I think 11th doesn't sound particularly exciting, and we expect more from Alpine, but the reality is the Alpine is dreadful. So I think he's done a very good job. Smashed Ocon in qualifying. He was unlucky that when he pitted, it was just before the red flag came out.
Esteban Ocon started 15th, finished 10th.
I've gone for a 7 out of 10 for Ocon as well, mainly because qualified worse, but finished ahead in the race. Wanted to give him a 6 out of 10 because of that radio message, but I'll forgive him and give him a 7. No, just joking. He finally got past Hulkenberg. Just don't think the Alpine is very good, and I think they're too unspectacular. Like they're good drivers, but not much they can do in that car.
I've gone for a 6 out of 10 for Ocon. Again, an okay weekend. I am disappointed with how long it took him to overtake Hulkenberg after the team radio message that will go down in history, I think, as one of the strangest things that's ever been broadcast on Formula One TV. Yeah, 10th place, scored a point. I think him and Gasly were quite similarly paced, despite Estebasti's bad qualifying performance. So yeah, a pair of sixes for them. Lewis Hamilton now started 6th, finished 2nd. I've gone for a 9 out of 10 for Lewis Hamilton. Obviously not the best of qualifyings. Could have done a bit better. Managed to utilise what is quite clearly very good race pace in the Mercedes, but not just that. On his side of the garage, they're obviously doing very well. His teammate had a bit of a struggle bus time, I would say. So Lewis trounced George, if anything. It kind of just shows more about that individual performance from Lewis there, and I think a 9 out of 10 sort of quite nicely sums that up. He was, of course, the closest thing we had to potentially getting a race with Verstappen, but he couldn't catch with those scrubbed mediums in that second part of the race.
I've gone for a 9 out of 10 as well for Lewis Hamilton. His qualifying wasn't great, but maybe that's just where Mercedes are, really. His race pace is phenomenal. It's I'd say a little underrated this year of how well he's done. His move on Leclerc was great. He's calculated. He just was brilliant on his tyres at the end, which I think has gone maybe a little bit unnoticed that he was on the mediums. His teammate was shredded his tyres by the end. They're on the same medium tyres, and Hamilton's doing a fantastic job and was even able to set the fastest lap of the race at the end, which just shows how well he'd kept his tyres in.
George Russell now started 8th, finished 6th.
Gone for I'm going to go for a 4 out of 10 for George Russell. I think he had a very mediocre race. This is the thing, right? I know he's finished 6th, and I did see an interesting tweet that was basically like, if it was 2 George Russells in that car, we'd be saying, oh, the Mercedes aren't quite there. But Hamilton is delivering and just putting in sensational races and bagging a lot of points, where George Russell just seems to be really struggling at the moment. So yeah, George is having an absolute stinker. I'm just going to repeat what I said last time. He really needs to pick it up. It's not going well for George at the moment.
It certainly isn't. I've gone for a 5 out of 10 for George. He was mentioning about tyre temperatures. He was complaining that the car just wasn't to his liking. He said that the pace, the stint at the end of the race was horrible, but at the same time, he was on the same tyre as what Lewis Hamilton was on, and Hamilton managed to bag the fastest lap and finish P2. So there's plenty for George to learn, I think, and he's not under threat, his seat isn't, and all that good stuff, but he can't be finishing that far behind Lewis Hamilton if he wants to be seen as the next, big thing when Hamilton retires. Mercedes will want to look to put their eggs in George's basket, but if he's going to continue this run of form up, that might not happen. Carlos Sainz now started 2nd, finished 4th. I have gone for an 8 out of 10 for Carlos Sainz. He stayed out of trouble, wasn't as quick as Leclerc, but to stick it on the front row with Charles has to be commended, and then to finish 4th, I think they've maximised what they could have done in that Ferrari car that does not like tyres.
No. Gone for an 8 out of 10 as well. It's a good drive from Sainz. He went through that little stage of the season where it looked like he was going to beat Leclerc, and he's been a little bit behind, but it's marginal. He's so close in qualifying, which is obviously Leclerc's speciality. And then in the race, not too far off either as well. So it's a solid result. And I think that's what Sainz does best, and maybe has been a little underrated in that sense, because you kind of look at the championship table and go, oh, Sainz isn't as quick as Leclerc, but he's one of those people that just bags points.
Charles Leclerc now started 1st, finished 3rd.
Gone for a 9 out of 10 for Charles. It's another brilliant performance. Charles is one of those drivers that has very similar races all the time, where he's brilliant in qualifying and there's nothing he can do in the race. And I want to stress many times that while Leclerc is a very good, a very, very good driver, and he's got amazing pace, and it shouldn't be a thing to basically be like, oh, he's rubbish because he qualifies really well and then can't do anything in the race. Like, he's not got the car to deliver in the race. Maybe they could have got 2nd if they'd have done a better strategy, like the hard tyres weren't working at the end. But then...
Well, you're not going to put Ferrari on a medium, are you, mate?
Equally, exactly. If they'd gone medium, we'd all be laughing at them for like...
I would be up in arms.
Yeah, exactly. They might have fallen off a cliff and we'd been like, what are you doing?
I've gone for a 9 out of 10 as well for Charles Leclerc. Amazing qualifying performance. I was so shell-shocked when Charles went fastest and Carlos was on the front row of the grid with him. It was a brilliant performance from Ferrari on a Saturday, but unfortunately could not do anything about. I don't think second was on either really against Hamilton. I think Mercedes just had some more innate raw speed, and the fact that they were able to utilise those medium tyres, Mercedes that is, I think that just put them at an advantage. Sergio Perez started 5th and did not finish. Okay, Mexican fans, you might want to turn off the podcast now or close your ears for the next 2 to 3 minutes. I am giving Sergio Perez a 1 out of 10. The only reason I'm giving him a 1 is because he was within 1.5 tenths of Max Verstappen in qualifying. After that, it was one of the strangest decisions. Just listening back to what he said around, being on a podium, but actually, basically just wanted to go for it. Why? Some people are like, I commend him for that. What a commendable thing to just try and send it round the outside and take the lead from 5th on the grid. How I see that is your seat is under threat. Just put a good performance in. You don't have to beat Max Verstappen. Realistically, if you take the lead there, Sergio, are you going to beat Max Verstappen over the course of a 70-lap race? Probably not. He's gone for it. It's not worked out, and unfortunately, he's getting the criticism because of it. If he had taken the lead, we would all be going, that is the greatest thing we've ever seen. But the problem is there was about a 5% chance of that actually working, and it didn't.
I've gone for a 2 out of 10 for Sergio Perez. Kind of same logic, but like you mentioned at the start, people's numbers mean different things, and I would have given him like a 1 out of 10, but his qualifying was obviously a lot better. But that also, in a way, makes his first corner thing so stupid, because he's finally sort of a bit more on it. He's getting caught by Hamilton now, and yeah, it's a really big error to go for it. Not had many podiums recently. Get on the podium in Mexican Grand Prix. Had good pace this weekend. Just have a solid race, but instead he sort of had that moment of madness and just misjudged it completely. Just turned in like they weren't there. So not good.
Max Verstappen started the race 3rd and finished 1st for the 16th time this season.
It's a 10 out of 10 for Max Verstappen. Oh my God. But joking aside, it was another brilliant performance. And I think what's most impressive about it is he's making it look easy, which is almost like doing him a disservice because it's making people discredit what he's doing and not really see how well he's done. Because you look at that restart and you go, oh, well, of course he should have been leading at turn 1 because 3rd's the best place to start, so you get a really good slipstream and you take the lead. Did that. Then he had another restart where he was in 1st, and it should be like, oh, now he's going to drop back behind people. And he made that look incredibly easy as well and didn't look like that anyone was even going to get anywhere near him. And I think that's what he does so well, that we kind of sit here and just go, oh, well, it's 10 out of 10, he's got no competition, and well done, like, oh, it must be hard for you. But he makes those difficult things actually look so easy, which is why we kind of almost like shrug it off.
Exactly. And that's a conversation we have every single time we grade Max Verstappen. I've also gone for a 10 out of 10. There's living proof up and down the grid that just because one teammate is doing well doesn't mean it's a given that the other person is also going to do well in that car. The car might be quick, but you have to be able to learn to extract that performance. And Max Verstappen is doing it at a level we've never seen before, hence why he's taken the win record with 3 races to go.
But the way he's dominating this year makes you feel like, oh, we're in this like Mercedes era again. This is the only full year where he's had a dominant car, like fully dominant.
Which is a kind of scary thought, Tommy.
It's a very scary thought.
Because if he has a dominant car for the next 5 years, Formula One's going to have 3 viewers.
Me, Grace.
And Frank.
Right,
who is our P1? My P1 is Daniel Ricciardo. God, and he said Max Verstappen. God, you're brainwashing me, Tommy. My P1 is Daniel Ricciardo. It has to be. What a man, what a myth, what a legend, what a real, just genuine, gorgeous man. Well done, Daniel. 10 out of 10.
Yes, makes me very happy to see Max Verstappen and Daniel Ricciardo show both 10 out of 10s, but I will also go for Daniel Ricciardo because, yeah, superb, silenced his critics. It's only one race, of course, but what a race. And I hope he continues this form because we know what You know he's a good driver and what he can do.
And that is it. We have finished our wrap-up content for the Mexico City Grand Prix, which means now we focus towards Brazil.
Gloriousness.
Interlagos. I would have this track on the calendar 24 times out of 24. And that is it. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. P1 Live Show tickets are still available if you want to go check them out. Manchester, Glasgow, and London. Link will be in the description on YouTube, and it'll also be in everywhere on our social media and all that good stuff. So come along if you'd like to, and we'll see you very soon. Bye!
Bye!